macrophages are simply larger. And they'll show up as well. But they may play a role down below in specific immunity, and hold on to your hats because we'll come to that. Basophils. What have they done? Same type of thing. They were typically found in the circulatory system, but now, knowing where the damage is, because they can smell the cytokines that have been released, they follow, they go to that site, and they start to do what? Promote inflammation. And they'll do that in a variety of ways. Vasodilation, a whole bunch of different cytokines, things like that. Mast cells. What's interesting about these guys is that these were out there in the tissues already. So they don't migrate from the circulatory system. They have been out there in fact, they migrated out during fetal development. And they've been out in the skin. And what do? Same type of a deal. They promote inflammation. And some of the things that mast cells release are histamines. Histamines, again, cause vasodilation. So what we're trying to do is to increase the blood flow there, because the increase of blood flow is going to do what? Several things. One is going to increase the number of these other cells to come there. But with the localized fever, what does that do? Say it a little louder. Okay, probably not kill them, but it will slow down their rate of reproduction. So bacteria like to reproduce within a given range, and sometimes it's a very narrow range of temperature. And so if we elevate temperature, what are we attempting to do? Keep those bacterial cells from reproducing. Why did Native Americans use sweat huts when people were sick? For that very reason. Sweat hut, they put you in a sweat hut and try to raise your body temperature even beyond your own fever, probably, to get up there to just reduce the bacterium. And I didn't know that that was going on, but that's how it worked. And oftentimes people recovered because of that. And eosinophils. Again, they're releasing a boatload of cytokines as well. But what do they attempt to do? What we've been trying to do kind of all along is increase inflammation, and what do the eosinophils do? They come along and go, okay, we've done our thing, now let's localize this and try to reduce this. So what do we see? Balance out of this, and then we go back into that homeostatic mode again, no matter where we are and what system out of all of that. Okay, hold on to that sheet. Interferon is here. I wasn't going to, let's just talk about it now. You know, it's got this kind of a gizmo here, just have to kind of figure out what that is with an arrow coming out that says interferon. Anybody know what interferon is or what it does? Interferon is, and it's pretty a little difficult to explain this to you without a virology background, but when viruses attack, and viruses are intracellular parasites, they try to find a specific cell, they attach to that cell, they enter that cell, they turn that cell's metabolic mechanisms over into making new viruses that then either are going to leave that cell one by one or kill off that cell and spread to others. When cells in the body have been attacked by viruses, in many cases, not always, but in many cases, those cells that have been attacked will release a chemical called interferon, which goes to the other cells in the vicinity that says the viruses are here. Change your membrane receptor. Otherwise, they're going to stick to you and attack you as well. So what they attempt to do is to reduce viral inflammation. So where would you guess you would find cells that produce large amounts of interferon? What tissues in the body? When you think viral infection, probably two things come to mind. They would be what? Okay, cold, which means we're talking respiratory system, upper respiratory tract. And the other thing is, you know, I had a bout of Norwalk virus last quarter. A bunch of you had it as well. Norwalk virus is what? That gastrointestinal virus that went through Cincinnati and laid low thousands of people. So we think of mucous membranes, basically, don't we? So the mucous membranes that line the respiratory tract and the mucous membranes that line the digestive tract are most prone to viruses. So there's where we would find the majority of the cells that have the capability for producing interferon. What does the name kind of imply? It interferes with the virus's capability of attacking a cell. Okay, so we've gone through then a second line of defense, and hopefully that worked. The antigen, whatever it was, the infectious agent, call it what you will, they all mean basically the same thing. If we didn't get rid of it, it's now established itself, and we know that the second line of defense isn't going to work anymore. It still attempts to do this, but we go into the third line of defense, and what's involved in that case. So let's look over here. We see this term show up. Acquired specific immunity, sometimes called the third line of defense. So what does that mean? Acquired specific immunity. Acquired implies, okay, this is something new. It's a new way of your body to respond to the presence of this particular antigen, this infectious agent, whatever it happens to be. And specific implies just that. It says, I know what this infectious agent is that has now entered me. I know what it is, and I'm going to come up with a method for dealing specifically with that. And what we would like to see with that third line of defense that acquires specific immunity is a memory. We would hope that that would be the case. Because if there's a memory involved, what does it mean, theoretically? That if you get exposed to that same antigen again, your body's going to remember how to deal with it, and you're not going to go through the whole sickness process all over. So that's the ultimate goal out of all that. So if you look at these terms, and see if you're familiar with any of these green boxes down at the bottom. So we have different types of acquired immunity. We have natural immunity, artificial, active, and passive. And so we can have natural active, we can have natural passive, we can have artificial active and artificial passive. What does this stuff mean? Well, what does this imply? There's mom with baby at her breast. What's going on there? It's called a natural immunity, because what is the mom providing for this little boo-boo? Antibodies. Now, we don't know what antibodies are yet, but you said it, so we're going to use that word. Okay? Well, we have no clue what that is, but the mom somehow gives these to kids, and when the mom breastfeeds, we know that children don't come down with as many childhood diseases. We know that's the case. So it's natural, correct? Nothing artificial, but does it last? No. It lasts for weeks to months, and maybe in some cases a couple of years. So it is at the same time passive. Now, what about that kind of immunity which is natural as well, because we don't get a certain disease, and we always are going to be protected against getting that, so we would have a natural active immunity. And another way of getting a natural active immunity is that you would actually get the disease. You got it, and you recovered from it, and you've got a good memory. So it was natural. Somebody sneezed all over you. You know, when I was a little kid and